Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're going to tackle a really important topic today, one that's been in the news quite a bit, the government's proposal to regulate AI-generated content by amending the IT rules. Now, this isn't just a technology story, not at all. It's about governance, it's about our rights, and really the future of the internet. That makes it an absolutely critical topic for your UPSC preparation. That's right. And to help you get a firm grip on this for the exam, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at what the proposed norms are. Then, we'll decode the draft rules themselves. We'll also examine the debate around it, the government's rationale versus civil society's concerns. And most importantly, we'll map all of this to the UPSC syllabus and discuss how to approach it for both mains and the interview.
Okay, let's jump right in. So what's this latest government move all about? What are they actually trying to achieve here?
Well, the heart of this initiative is coming from the Ministry of Electronics and IT, or MeitY as we know it. They're pushing for stricter disclosure norms for any content that's generated by artificial intelligence. It's important to remember, this isn't a completely new law. Instead, it's a very significant amendment to the IT rules we already have, and it's all aimed at making platforms more transparent.
Exactly. And you should pay close attention to the process itself. You'll notice that MeitY has actually extended the deadline for stakeholder feedback. Now, why is that important for your answers? Well, it demonstrates that the government is taking a consultative approach, which, as you know, is a cornerstone of good governance. It's a small detail, but a very potent one to include in your analysis.
Right. So now let's dig a little deeper and get into the real nitty-gritty. We need to look at the precise wording of these draft rules, because that's where you see the true impact of what's being proposed.
You know, they say the devil is in the details, and that is absolutely true here. The old wording just required prominent visibility. But look at the new proposal: continuous and clearly visible display throughout the duration. That is a massive change. It means we're going from, say, a simple one-time label to a persistent warning that you just can't miss. That single word, continuous, is a game changer for these platforms.
Of course, a change of this magnitude is going to spark a serious debate. And for your exam, it is absolutely essential that you understand both sides of the coin. You need to know the government's reasoning for this move, and also why civil society groups are raising some serious concerns.
So let's begin with the government's perspective. What problem are they fundamentally trying to solve by making these rules so much stricter?
The government's motivation is quite clear, really. It's a direct counterattack against the explosion of deepfakes and AI-driven misinformation that we're seeing. Essentially, they are trying to build a stronger defense mechanism against all this deceptive, fake, and often harmful content that spreads like wildfire on social media.
But, and this is a big but, here's where the criticism really starts. The major red flag for civil society organizations is a particular clause that would make it mandatory for platforms to comply with advisories and guidelines issued directly by the ministry. This has become the real flashpoint of the entire debate.
And this quote gets to the very heart of that criticism. The argument is that forcing platforms to obey advisories, which are not laws passed by Parliament, mind you, amounts to government overreach. Critics say it's a way of giving legal power to executive instruments that don't have the backing of the parent law, the IT Act. And this, of course, raises fundamental questions about due process and the separation of powers.
Now, this entire debate is frankly a goldmine for your exam preparation. So let's explicitly connect the dots and see exactly where this topic fits into your UPSC syllabus. This will help you organize your notes much more effectively.
Just look at how beautifully this topic cuts across different papers. For GS Paper 2, it's directly relevant to government policies, e-governance, and the role of civil society. And for GS Paper 3, you have clear links to science and tech awareness and the basics of cybersecurity. This is a classic example of an interdisciplinary topic, the kind that UPSC absolutely loves to ask questions on.
All right, so you've understood the issue. But the real question is, how do you translate all of this knowledge into marks? Let's talk strategy now, for your mains answers and for the interview.
When it comes to a mains answer, structure is everything. You should start with a basic context, what these IT rule amendments are about. Then explain the need for them, the why behind it, mentioning things like deepfakes. The main body of your answer should analyze both the key provisions and the criticisms. And please, always conclude with a balanced way forward, where you discuss how to strike a balance between innovation and regulation.
Now, for the interview, they're going to test your depth of understanding. You should be prepared to discuss the bigger picture, the classic dilemma of free speech versus regulation. Show them you understand the legal hierarchy, the difference between the parent IT Act and these rules, and most importantly, don't just identify problems. They want to see a future officer, so offer a forward-looking, solution-oriented perspective. Show them you're a problem solver.
So, we'll leave you with this central question, a question that you will likely grapple with throughout your career as an administrator. How does a modern democracy strike that delicate balance between fast-paced technological change and the non-negotiable need for public safety? Your ability to think critically about this is precisely what will define good governance in our digital age. So keep thinking and keep up the great work with your preparation.